everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Caffeinated Librarians. Ben is with us today. Woo!
Hi, everybody.
Woo!
Ben is back.
All right, so continuing with our theme of throwback films that we all love, we are going to be talking about A Knight's Tale. Woo!
Ben's looking suspicious over here. I love this movie.
All right, yeah. So
I have thoughts.
Just have fun.
Just
have fun.
All right, so so A Knight's Tale came out in 2001, and it's a medieval adventure comedy film starring the late Heath Ledger, Shannon Sossamon, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Rufus Sewell, Paul Bettany, and Alan Tudyk. So it tells the story of a peasant man named William who has dreamt of becoming a knight since he was a young boy. And his golden opportunity arrives when the knight that he currently works for drops dead during a tournament. William dons his armor, wins the tournament, and decides, I'm really good at this. I'm going to make this a career. Of course, his friends aren't too thrilled because being a peasant, William doesn't have any legal...
Can I jump in there real quick?
Sure.
He really wasn't that great at it. Like, especially at the beginning.
Hey, after that training montage, he never failed.
You mean Lowrider? The Lowrider montage?
Yeah, after the Lowrider / Rocky montage training.
So I will amend my previous
training
statement.
montages.
As Lou has pointed out, he was not great at it, but he was good enough to be able to at least win that tournament that his master died and couldn't complete.
Look,
Which
he
I don't
died.
understand. Also, how was he so cool with his master dying? He didn't even bat an eye.
I figured the master was like kind of a jerk, and then there was a flashback where like he was sweet to him, and it was like,
nice
oh,
guy.
I guess they
But
just didn't care.
Was
Yeah.
that the same gentleman?
I think
Yes,
so.
Sir Eccles.
Yeah.
It might not have been Eccles.
Could have been
but-
a-hole. Could have been just an a-hole.
I
don't
think
know.
it's...
I don't think he was, though, because, like you said, the flashback was very, like, endearing. He was like, show me a muscle, son.
Oh, that's right.
Well, maybe one... Okay, let's go with this assumption that as the gentleman aged, maybe he became crankier, his joints were aching, he didn't have the spring in his step he once had, and that led to some anger and resentment, which he could only take out on William and his buddies. So let's go with that
adds
angle.
a different layer to this movie.
Exactly, because there's a lot you don't
Now
know.
there's some depth.
What happened in those intervening years? So let's go with that
That's
angle.
what we're going to find out in Knight's Tale, too.
Shout out to the absolutely impeccable Mark Addy.
Oh, I was
Robert Baratheon
Robert
himself.
Baratheon.
so happy to see
Friar
him here.
Tuck stealing the show.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
I love how, like he randomly gives him, like jousting advice. Like, he's been, he's a jousting coach his whole life. He's like, dip your shoulder to the left and stuff like that. I'm like, where did that come from?
Well, I guess because...
Get me the breastplate stretcher.
because I guess as the... I don't know if they'd be considered the squires for the knight, but they had to take care of the knight's armor. So one would assume, after
They
all
would
the
be
years of
squires.
viewing the jousting games, they would have sort of picked up what the rules were, because they still would have had to assist the knight. They would have had to help him with the armor, make sure his lance, I'm sure, was in tip-top condition.
Of course.
That's what I'm going
that
with.
It's not tampered with when
Yeah,
guy
what a
breaks it.
jerk. Sorry, we're jumping way ahead.
But the interesting thing too is, like, when they mention the tipping, they called it? No.
Tipping.
I mean, regardless of whether it was tipped or not, like, when they talk about shards can fall, like, I think tipping would have
Tipping
been...
means something else.
I mean, you
Or
take the
tip.
waitress.
What does it mean?
Isn't that like
So they're riding off the high of winning that tournament. They're on this road, and they come across Geoffrey Chaucer, played by Bettany to perfection, and
He was the best character.
Yeah,
He is-
no, he's really funny.
He is naked.
I just love depictions of Chaucer. I think he's a funny dude to put in
I took
movies.
a full class on the Canterbury Tales and everything, and my teacher was so into Chaucer, and I was like, yo, you're making me so into Chaucer.
Perhaps the only role played by both Paul Bettany and Pier Paolo Pasolini.
And I just realized, like, there's a big chunk of my notes that's missing. But whatever, we will...
Wing it!
So they meet Geoffrey, and he's on the road, he's naked. He says he took an involuntary vow of poverty. You find out he has a gambling problem. But he's very good at writing, and one of the things he's really good at writing are... What do they call them? I can't remember the P word. Wait.
Patents.
Patents, thank you. Patents of nobility, which is what
I thought you
William
were gonna say
needs.
poems, and I was like, was he
No,
good at writing poems?
he writes poems as well. He's
That
a
was
romance
the other
and
thing.
everything.
You know the part where they're writing the poem to what's her face?
Jocelyn.
Jocelyn, that's
The
right.
fair Jocelyn.
And
What's
you know
her
this
face?
guy's supposed to be the greatest writer in the world, and he's going around to all the other ones, being like, so give me some inspiration. Here.
But I think it would make sense. The reason why I think he was doing that, because first of all, William was almost going to rely on Geoffrey, and we're jumping so far ahead.
Well, that's Chaucer's works in general are
Yeah.
all inspired by the stories of others.
Also, dude was not romantic in the slightest.
Not
Oh,
at
really?
Yeah, no,
all.
all of his stories are just like
Really kind
very
of like
crude.
teaching you
Oh,
the
yeah.
consequence of
Yeah.
falling in love, the bad things of falling in love. It's basically the Canterbury Tales is him on a pilgrimage with other people, and they all come up with like a contest to see who can tell the best story while they're on their pilgrimage to a sacred, place.
And there are some raunchy
And so
ones.
Nice.
there's a lot
Most
of
of
raunchy
them.
ones. Yeah, they're great. There's one I love the best, but I'm not going to talk about. But that's basically all his stories. All his stories were like he's listening to other people's stories and he's giving them to you, the audience. So when he's searching for inspiration, I feel like that is a bit true to character. He's like one of those people you would see at a bar, at a pub,
Sir
listening to
Ulrich
everybody.
should have written his own.
I was kind of like, why
Sir
can't he
Ulrich.
come up with anything? And
Yeah.
all these, and like Mark Addy and that redhead dude are like coming out with real
Yeah.
poetry.
Because I think...
And then when he
Alex
sees her,
Tudyk
he's
is the
like,
real
your
romantic."
breasts are beneath your throat.
No, because, well, I think it's in line with his character because his character is very direct. His character doesn't feel the need. I'm going to say doesn't feel the need for artifice, although his whole character is artifice. But you know what I mean. He's very direct. He and also Jocelyn, true to her character, she doesn't really fall into the flowery words. When Sir Douche
Good for her.
is like trying to chat her up, she sees right through him.
Sir
like,
Adama. His
He's a
name is
douche.
really funny to me. I'm sorry.
So in many ways, like, it's funny how, I guess, well, maybe it's natural because she has an attraction for him, so she wants him sort of impress her. But to me, it makes sense that he was going to the others, who I think have more romantic experience than William does. The female,
Well, he doesn't know
metal,
the
not
courtship
metalsmith.
rules. He
She's
doesn't-
been married, so she would
The
know.
blacksmith. Yeah.
Yeah, she was married.
Yeah.
I think the other gentleman, Robert Baratheon, he I think was married or was in some kind of relationship.
yeah, to
so,
Cersei.
Yeah. So they all have like romantic experience to one degree or another.
Well,
William
Robert
really
Baratheon was flirting with the maid.
exactly.
the whole
So I think that's why he has a lot of that
Spin game
experience.
The whole movie.
No, you have to tell
He
you.
was.
You know who the one who's got the most game is. It's always like that character. He's like the one who's like there. He's the serious character. He's the one who's like, yo, you guys gotta get your like shit together. And everyone's like, nah, I'm cool. I'm just over
I
here. And
couldn't
he's like,
stand his redheaded boy. I couldn't
You don't
stand
like
that
Alan
dude.
Tudyk?
The
Nah.
the pirate from Dodgeball.
Oh my
Yeah.
god!
you didn't know that? He's
oh,
the
I
chicken
didn't
in
put
Moana.
it together.
I couldn't stop thinking about the pirate.
Tucker and
He-
Dale versus Evil.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never
Firefly.
saw Tucker and Dale.
Firefly.
Watch.
Hey, not to be the rube at the table here, but when did Pasolini play Chaucer?
Canterbury Tales. He did
There
a
was
movie
a-
of
What a
Canterbury
blind. This is the same
Tales.
guy who did 120 Days of
Yeah.
Sodom.
He before that
Wow.
he did a trilogy called the Trilogy of Life,
It's an awful
and it was all adaptations of like medieval stories.
I'm sorry,
And
I've been in a haze this
they're
whole time.
they're,
so I'm like,
they're
why?
like really lovely, goofy sex
We'll
comedies.
just do that. We'll just do that.
Okay,
Check them out.
I'm gonna check them out.
Character
Criterion
pictures.
Collection.
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
good.
We talk about like Geoffrey Chaucer in this movie also has the best drip in my opinion. He's got like the big yellow, like white, long. I'm like, that's something I feel like I would wear, except it's yellow. But at the same time, I'm like, that's a fancy coat.
But I love
Coat.
there's a line because I love his introductions for William, like how he pumps the crowd up. But there was this one line where he goes, "We walk in the garden of his turbulence." That is just an awesome line, and then like the silence that follows that, and then Baratheon has to go and then everyone gets pumped up. He has such great lines, like
He's
he's
the hype man. Yeah.
yeah, he's just adorable.
Paul Bettany.
Yeah.
Genius.
So Yeah, so of course every hero needs his villain. So Rufus Sewell just seems to play really great villains.
He looks like a bad guy.
He
you know what I mean?
does. He was born to be
Yeah,
a
he
bad
just looks
guy.
like a bad
But
guy.
he looks really good in this film.
I was thinking,
Yeah. Oh, at least in my
Adam,
opinion.
Maybe
He's
Maybe.
like a
just quiet, he
perpetually
looks good in
handsome
black.
man with like these super high cheekbones, and yeah, he's a little Mads Mikkelsen-y in some ways.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
got a thing with his eyes. I know that they're a little uneven. I've noticed.
Hey,
Really?
that.
Feeling
He
like-
has
Don't
one
knock,
eye
don't
that
knock
tends
those
to-
guys with uneven
Yeah,
eyes.
No,
Gosling.
no. You're
My
fine, but
my
it
symmetry
adds to,
is
like the differently like when he scowls, it definitely adds like that extra
Yeah.
like.
I did
factor
not
to
even. I did not even
scowls.
notice
So
that.
me.
But
I'm a noticer of small details in some sense.
No,
As
that-
we learned on Mulholland Drive, I'm
Well-
writing down about the stupid book in the corner that has no relevance.
It probably does, though.
I'm sure it does. You know, who knows?
Do we know what that book's about?
Oh, it's a tour of Paris. It was a Paris tour book.
I'm just saying. I bet that there's something significant in it.
Anyways, A Knight's Tale. Adamar is the villain. He's a bad guy. He's also trying to woo Jocelyn, but he's also a noble, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he's a knight.
The difference between him and Will is that Will is not. Well, you don't know that he's like.
We know that.
We know that Will in the beginning is not. So like when it
A
comes to
noble.
him wooing Jocelyn, he's trying to imitate a noble's way of courtship. But I think she sees through all that.
Is he though?
Yeah, that's,
Is he really trying?
that was courtship.
Other than being a knight, other than pretending to be
Knights
a knight,
aren't anything special. Knights were never special.
they
in
said that
history.
was the whole thing through the whole movie was you had to be a noble to be a
Yeah,
knight.
this movie's not very historically accurate.
It
I don't know.
doesn't play well, but when he's trying to woo her, he tries to imitate a noble courtship.
Oh,
Instead
I
of
thought he
send
was
letters.
kind of just trying to be himself.
But I
No.
thought, I'm not.
Like
too-
with the letters is a thing that they would do. They like send letters, and there's like you can actually go online and look at some of the letters that were sent back then and how they're translated, and it's like
Right, but
literally
not
just, like,
even speaking historically, just in the movie.
Yeah, no.
Like he wasn't doing anything that seemed out of character.
I mean, he was trying to imitate noble language, but that was the only thing.
Was he though?
Yes, he's going through the whole thing of like, how do I word this letter? Because if he wrote it himself,
But
it'd be
but
like
every person that has tried to attract somebody else and they're trying to write something to them has asked their buddies, "Hey, what should I say to woo this person?"
Yeah, I
literally,
don't,
he was just
Yeah.
going,
I
I
think in-
love you on
I
it,
don't
and that
think
was it.
in Green Book when Viggo Mortensen
Yeah.
is
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. I don't think he's trying to be a knight.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a language, and I think honestly, that's how I took it. Is he's literally trying to like when asking his friends. 'Cause
You're
outside
thinking
that,
too historical.
He's illiterate.
Well, no, like he does change the way he speaks. Like there's like a great example is towards the end of the film after he's been wounded. I think he's talking to Alan Tudyk's character, and he goes, "Strap me lance to my arm." Like he uses
Right.
he will
did hear that.
change.
And thought it was
way-
very out of place
Yeah, he.
because that was not happened in any other part
But
of
if
the movie.
anybody heard him say what he was going to say in peasant language, it's like that's a set off.
Yeah.
Because
I
there
don't
is
know.
a way of speaking.
I believe you. I'm
yeah.
just saying that wasn't expressed at all
But
in the
I
movie
think also
whatsoever.
with the film, like one thing I noticed is I think at some points they were going for high fluting, like I was gonna say text instead of
Speech?
yeah.
Dialogue.
Well, the script at one point it kind of fluctuates. Like they're trying to imitate. This is like a not high fantasy, but like it's medieval. And then
It's
it kind
modern
of,
medieval,
and then it
yeah.
flows into modern, and then it goes back. So I think sometimes it fluctuates with how they're writing these lines.
Yeah, it has
But,
this modern sense to it. They have like modern music.
Yeah.
It's like some of the clothing choices as well
Oh
are more
yeah,
modern.
Jocelyn was like
Yeah.
I love those
out of the
stupid little
1940s,
things.
not the 1640s.
But that's why
yeah.
it's very 2000s. Like when I was watching the trailer and then I was watching clips, and one of the clips I watched was the dance scene when Count Douche asks him to like show him a dance. I'm gonna call him that from now on. Show me a dance of your country. The hairstyle,
Smelly
like
does
even
not like
no,
Count Adam.
no, like even like the spiky hair. Like I remember because I was a teen of the 2000s, so like you would tie her in a ponytail, like flip it in such a way where you had like spiky parts, like the
I
way.
love that stupid spiky
The
hair.
way-
You had spiky hair?
No, like the way.
I'm just curious.
Like if you look at Jocelyn's hair, it's a very 2000s kind of look to her hair.
Oh yeah.
You know, even like the clothing, like none of that is historically accurate. But I think it's kind of the beauty of this period in time. A lot of times they weren't really going for that. It's more like.
But they were with the speech?
I think they were attempting. Obviously, had they gone like full on medieval, no one's gonna watch that. They're trying
We
to
already had first
mimic,
night.
a high level of speech to some extent, but it's full of like the modern sensibilities. Like even the way Jocelyn behaves, it's also very a 2000s kind of thing where the heroine has to be that spunky, I'm challenging the establishment kind of thing. You know, considering that she's from an upper class, you know. Yeah.
Did anybody else catch Mace Tyrell as the priest early on?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, I watched the movie. Yeah.
No, the little pigtail.
Yeah.
No, that's just we're not downing
So,
you watch them.
about the dance scene, it was really weird when they were using like the mock medieval music, and then you just hear David Bowie come in with Angel. Oh, right, and like I don't know, that was a jump scare for me.
It starts off as like, okay, I can show you my dance, and then it's like
they should have just queued up Golden Years from the get-go of it.
Yeah. Yeah, they did it throughout the rest of the movie. They might as well
But I was trying to figure
Embrace
out though, like how. What? I'm sorry.
embrace it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Pick a style. Embrace it.
Well, one person had a good point because when they play like "We Will Rock You" in the opening jousting,
I liked that.
scene. That's such
but
a
one person, their take on that was like, and I don't know what kind of music would have been played during a jousting tournament, but basically saying how it was kind of like the Super Bowl of that time, like you all gathered to see these two knights. So the rock you music is kind of fitting, even though it's anachronistic. It's almost like what kind of music would they have played at that time?
Yeah, I had no problems. I liked that.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
singing along to it.
Gilderland. That's what it was called. Sorry.
But going back to the knights, because I'm not, like, I'm assuming though, in order to participate in those tournaments, is it accurate that you had to be of noble stock to participate in the jousting tournaments?
Yes.
Or
I have no clue.
Yes,
That's
because
what
it was a family.
That's
It was
what
a family
they said
thing.
in the movie.
Yeah.
well, I know that's what they said in the movie. I was just wondering if that aspect is historically accurate. Whether
Oh.
like to participate in these games, would you have had to have been? And Amanda
I missed
said
that
yes.
day in social studies.
You usually when you are presenting like your knights, you're sending people of like royal families, and so that's why they all have their crests out to show you which family they're from. They're usually like the sons or like someone related to them that's been trained in like. It's not. I'm not sure if it's fully like knights are doing it, but it's somebody who's trained in it.
Okay.
So that's something I don't know the historical context for.
I took
think it's knights.
a lot of medieval classes. We never covered jousting.
Which
so.
is, I'm sure that's why a lot of people went to. They're like, jousting sounds so cool.
But I know, like, one of my teachers said the reason why they started a lot of these games, because at a certain period there were no wars. So in order to, like, get off that aggressive energy, so to speak, they created these games.
The Purge.
We're seeing that.
I just thought it was convenient.
We're seeing that
because
in-
people died during these things. Like literally, that's like you get the guy off the horse, and then the guy's like, "I'm ready to go. I'm pulling my sword out," and you're just like, "Hold on, calm down."
We're seeing that in House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
When she
No
picks,
spoilers. I ain't seen an episode yet.
Oh,
Nothing.
this isn't really giving anything. But when she picks her, what do they call the Lord Commander? Not
Kingsguard.
Kingsguard. Yeah, when she picks the Kingsguard, she tries to find somebody that's actually been in battle because there are no battles.
Which was smart on her part.
Yeah. So
But it is a good way to woo
She's a smart
somebody
kid.
as well because you do pick a patron.
So I will say before the podcast started, Joe said something that is like 100% what makes this movie fascinating, is that it was all sets.
Yes.
We were looking at these magnificent, beautifully constructed sets, and it's just SETS, just to be clear. And there was like, he said, you just don't.
This guy.
I don't
Apparently
want to be mumbly.
First day back.
So apparently the film was the.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Keep going, please.
But like,
Continue
yeah.
talking about your
And
sets.
he said he really said that they don't. He said they don't make movies like, or they don't make them like they used to, and it really you can see it. And I think, what was the one? Fellowship of the Ring. I went and watched that the other day. It's all these unbelievable sets and
The natural
and
environments they find
extras
themselves.
and costumes
It's
and
all shot on film, so like even just like like mid-budget blockbusters look just like luxurious. I don't know.
And I think that's one of like since we're talking about the set design and like that's one of the things that disappointed me about the Hobbit trilogy, because they sort of did away with the more practical, and maybe practical is more expensive, I don't really know, but they did all the CGI.
Well,
It's
practical
To be
is
fair-
union. That's why.
it was the most cynical reason not to use extras is because he got pissed that he had to pay so much to the extras through their unions, right? It was
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean,
also think that
that's
The Hobbit
why
had
the
a
big
lot more, like,
push
fantastical
towards
things than
VFX
Lord
of the Rings
has
did
happened
towards
is
the
because
end.
it's non-unionized.
Wow.
Because you have
It's
the
sad.
trolls, and then you have like.
Okay, but that was
Durgan.
like I wasn't aware of the union aspect.
Yeah.
But that's what kind of disappointed me, because the original trilogy is so beautiful with what they accomplished.
Yep.
And then I saw the Hobbits and like, okay. But I do agree. I think a lot of the times the idea like let's just CGI everything, and maybe because it's unions, and it's sort of like you lose a lot of that beauty that you can achieve by doing these kind of practical effects. Like you even see it with a lot of the kind of remakes that have been coming out. Like one example that I give and is like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. The famous scene where Freddy is emerging from Nancy's bedroom wall. In the 80s one, it was a guy pushing against, I forgot what material they used.
It's gotta be like a nylon-esque.
But then you see the remake, and to me that looked so fake, like compared to the original. So that's sort of my thing where like I think there's an over-reliance, I think sometimes on CGI, and you don't have the same kind of
Definitely.
beauty.
Yeah,
Or-
I love digital filmmaking, but I do not like the way it just sort of took over everything. I think it's a beautiful way to like actually democratize film, because it's like, oh, you can shoot things now, like anyone can.
Do you think
don't-
maybe it makes it feel a little insincere?
No,
Or
I
no?
don't. I wouldn't say that, but I think just on like major blockbuster levels, things end up looking a little samey, a little less rich. Like a big like film, it just has a great texture to it, and like I saw that here, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, look
It's
at
like
look at all the Netflix movies, right?
yeah,
They all look exactly the same.
and it's just like like this isn't like on the level of like Lord of the Rings in terms of set
no.
design,
God, no.
but it's still just like, wow, this feels a lot more luxurious than like say like the most recent Marvel movie.
It's like refreshing.
Yeah.
After all the CGI, like just very refreshing.
And I think what I also love about it, and I don't know whether this is just a hallmark of the 2000s, but the idea, like William, when he's very young, it's the first time you see a flashback. He and his father are watching these knights as they're parading through town.
It's can I just say giving the kid Heath Ledger hair was a really funny touch.
It's so cute.
That's how you make the connection between characters. It kind of reminds me of
The
anime.
audience wouldn't be able to figure it out otherwise.
No, but it kind of reminds. No.
Reminds you of
don't-
anime? It's like
don't-
blue hair, main
No.
character done.
No, like you know how in anime when you see their younger version, like they're almost wearing the same kind of clothes, they have the exact same hair. It's like that's how you know who you're seeing.
They
That's
haven't
what I
changed
meant.
their haircut in like 10 years.
Yeah, but
They
he
focus group that flashback, and the kid originally didn't have long hair. Audience had no idea who it was.
I'm sure that's why they had to do it.
They were like, "Who the hell's William?"
Yeah, but it's like when he's having the conversation with his dad and he says like, I want to be a knight, and I love how his father, instead of telling him, dream on, that will never happen, it's very important, especially as a young child. What I appreciate says like, you have the power to do anything, that is within your control. Now one could argue, okay, fine, maybe not. But the fact that his father doesn't just say, dream on, it's sort of like when Alan Tudyk's character and Baratheon are talking about, we just want to be able to go home, eat, we're peasants, we don't dream big. And for how many people, especially at that time, they were told, don't even think about going anywhere, like this is your lot in life, just accept it. William doesn't do that. And I think also when you think about it, all he lacks is nobility of title. That's all that he lacks, and that is what is the stumbling block to him being able to do. But he is just as good as the ones that have that nobility. And what I love about this film is obviously this would not have happened in real life, but when the prince sees him and the prince recognizes him that he is noble of character and he knights him, it's a beautiful moment. And I think the film inspires you to have hope that in spite of your circumstances, you're not bound by them necessarily. You can overcome and you can achieve your dream. And I think that's sort of missing in a lot of our films where it's like it's so doom and gloom, where especially films in the medieval period, like everyone has to be starving, everyone needs to be dying, there needs to, you know.
I mean, there was.
But I'm not saying that
there's
there.
a lot going on.
But I'm not saying that, like, it reminds me of when I took a medieval class. My teacher had this line that has stuck with me. Like, she said, when you see the medieval period, it's either Braveheart or Camelot. There's no balance in between. You don't see, like, the balance. And in a way, I agree. It's either everyone was dying, everyone was being burned at the stake, everyone was miserable, or you have this fantasy where, like, everything is perfect. But I think there was, and obviously, yes, there were periods of war and
Camelot
devastation.
had a lot of problems.
It did. But
I heard Braveheart is historically accurate.
Can you
I mean, there's
believe?
nobody here to
saying
dispute
this.
that.
Honestly, I'm so glad Katie's not here because I'm tired of hearing her rave about how much she loves Braveheart.
I'm just
Like-
asking for drama.
She did say Mel Gibson's her favorite actor.
It's like sometimes I feel like the moment we walk in, it's like the first thing that comes to her mind is
She's got her
Braveheart. She
face
needs to
painted half blue.
tell us.
Me and Simona's Twilight.
Yeah.
She's got Braveheart.
Yeah. Every
She
time.
can equate everything to Braveheart.
Mhm.
Yeah, Katie's gonna love us. But you know what's funny? Even watching Braveheart and like since it was brought up, yes, it's not historically accurate. Even clothing, they're wearing like lycra, whatever stretch, whatever the hell that material is that the princess is wearing. But there still
Yeah,
is.
her hats.
But there still is something about that film. I mean, obviously, the real gentleman, it didn't end well for him. You know, his
Didn't really end well for him in that movie either.
No, it didn't. You know, although it's but there was.
But he got to
still-
yell freedom, and he saw Mirren, so maybe it did.
Yeah, I guess in that sense he found peace at the end, and that I'll stop with the Braveheart thing.
I've never seen Braveheart.
Yo, I didn't
I
realize
don't
we
know
were
if
going
I've
into
seen
more
any
Braveheart.
movie
Okay.
Mel
I
Gibson
actually
directed, to
Oh
be
my
honest.
I have to say,
I didn't know he directed that.
Did he? I don't know.
I know. I think it was a different director.
Oh,
It was like
okay.
oh god, I used to know the name. I'm sorry.
It's
Of what?
fine.
The director of this movie?
I don't think
Braveheart.
Mel Gibson didn't direct
Oh.
Braveheart, but he had a big hand in it. It's pretty awesome.
Kind of
Yeah.
like how Tom Cruise didn't direct Top Gun Maverick,
But he did.
But he did.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think I've seen really any of the Mel Gibson vehicles. I think I came in too late for that.
Well, you know,
Mel
he's
Gibson kind of creeps me out.
a problematic dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should.
who's incredibly
Like, I
talented.
see him in a movie and I'm just like,
Yeah.
I think I'll skip it.
But I think
Signs,
that,
actually. Signs.
But I think that was
Yeah,
also the
I do
time
like
period.
Signs.
It's almost
Yeah.
like telling the average man's story, kind of a deal. Like I don't know.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit.
The average man.
No. So
Oh,
can we
story.
talk about Jocelyn a little bit?
Sure.
All right.
She got some eyebrows.
She does have eyebrows.
Like,
Shannon Sossman,
really
she's amazing.
prominent.
Yeah.
She was beautiful.
Eyebrows.
She's beautiful. She's a beautiful woman. I understand being infatuated with her.
Snarky.
But when she told him, first off, she complains to her maid that all these guys. By the way, I'm trashing this movie. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I was surprised I enjoyed it. But she complains to her maid that these guys are like, I'm going to win this tournament for you. And she's like, I don't want them to do that. I want them to try to win my heart. And then this Heath Ledger comes up, doesn't want to do that. And then she tells him, to prove your love to me, you have to lose. First off, any person
What a manipulative.
that tells you you have to do something against yourself, against who you are, to prove your love is not true love. And then she comes back and says, no, never mind. To prove that you love me, go ahead and win now.
It'd be one thing if she was like, lose this game of cards.
Yeah.
No, it's losing where he has to get hit
He's
by a
losing
lance
money.
I
like
think-
10 times in a row.
To be fair to Jocelyn, here is I think why she probably told him that. Like, okay, if you think about Jocelyn's character, which I'm not a history person, so I can't claim this is fact. But obviously a woman of her social standing the ultimate goal in her life would be to marry very well to increase her family prestige and make her comfortable and secure. That was her ultimate goal. So Jocelyn is well aware.
It's not like the other guys.
Yeah, that her beauty is the first thing that men see, which is normal because, let's face it, people who are beautiful, it's a fact of life. People
I know,
will be
it's something
drawn
I
to.
deal with every day.
Exactly, I am sure. They're just drawn to like moths to a flame.
Yeah.
To be fair, he tries to hit on her in a church, and I'm like, oh, that's very medieval.
Yeah.
Just go in there and
You
meet a
didn't even
girl.
realize
That's how,
he
that
was,
was
like,
the dating.
walking.
That was
Yeah.
funny. He walks in with the horse.
Yeah, and so
Get that now.
So, like, for her, she knows that any man who's coming to me, it's either for my money or the fact that I'm beautiful, and they're not seeing past those two things.
They don't like me for who I am.
Granted, William, when he sees her, that's the first thing he notices. She's a very attractive woman. That's why he follows her in the first place, you know? But I think once it's sort of established, I mean, I don't know, because honestly, their relationship is not really that developed.
Nope.
So I don't see where he moves past the attraction based on the physical to attraction based on your personality. Honestly, like thinking back on it, that doesn't really happen.
It does not. No.
But let's assume that he does, that he sees something beyond her physical appearance. And let's assume Jocelyn picks up on that. So she realizes, okay, this is a man that I don't want to let go of. There's some value in pursuing this kind of courtship. Also at that point with William, he's sort of becoming reckless. And I think he's fixated on beating Count Douche, which is understandable. So I'm just gonna call him that.
His servant says his name, so Count Adama. And you're just like,
So that's sort of what he's focused on. So she kind of sees it, okay, well, you're claiming you're doing this for me, but I know for a fact you aren't. You're doing this because of your pride and you want to win. So she says, in order for me to know that you love me, you should be willing to forfeit this. That's how I understood it. Then when she sees, okay, he is willing to do it.
Yeah, once he's down 5-0 in the ninth, she's
but the
like,
point
all right,
is,
go ahead.
he
I also
quickly
Win it
it's a
for
little
me.
he
different.
wins.
But what if
you
he
know?
didn't win? What if he didn't win? Would she have still gone to see him that
Yes,
night?
I believe that she would have, yes, because her
Oh.
whole point was that I want to see that you're willing to put aside your pride and lose for me. So I believe she would have, even if he had actually lost, she still would have gone to see him.
I think it's a little, in my opinion, I thought it was more her, like, getting tired of having, like, men come up to her because she's pretty and stuff like that. And so she was like, if you really love me, you're going to have to lose. It's kind of like a test to be like,
You shouldn't have
it's
to
kind of like to
test
deter
somebody,
him.
though.
It's like to deter him, like trying to get away, like trying to push away all the suitors and being like, I don't want these people. He's probably just another one. And being like, if you truly say that you love me, then you'll do this, and that'll like definitely win my heart. And I think it's something because it's like jousting is a noble sport, and so it's one of those things where I'm like, if you love me, you'll lose. And so it's like either he's gonna choose the jousting, like, and his pride, or he's gonna lose it and prove that, like, he's actually trying to, like, woo her. And I think it's just kind of a game, but then she starts to realize it's not really that way, and she's like, okay, all right, maybe.
I think it was kind of a douchey move on her part.
It is a
However,
douchey
she makes up for it.
If you
Very
think
well.
that their
She's like,
relationship,
come to be in a church.
if you think their relationship arc is troubling in this movie, you should watch The Order. Heath and Shannon's relationship in that movie,
Oh, they're in another movie together?
yeah, in 2003, came out.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that it's troubling, it's more like, it's kind of like, because the film itself is more like an adventure kind of comedy, so to speak. It's not really based on the relationship between the characters, because there really is no real development of their
I think
quote-unquote
they
love
could
story.
have sliced down one or two of the jousting scenes,
No, that's
put
why
in
I'm
some
here.
conversations.
Yeah, but I think that's what this film really is. I think if it was built as like a rom-com, I think you would have seen more of the development of the relationship. But because the movie is primarily an action film, like there's more development between Adamar and William. There's more of a development of that
Maybe
relationship.
that was the real romance. That
Maybe.
And let's face it, Heath Ledger's best movie ever is 10 Things I Hate About You.
he could fix him.
He could fix what? Who could fix what?
Yeah, that
Heath
seemed
Ledger could
weirdly
fix
out of
Adamar.
context.
Oh.
Oh.
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's more development of their, like, Amanda, we can dream. There's more development of that kind of relationship than there is between Heath Ledger and his love interest, to be perfectly honest. But
He's looking at the wrong person.
yeah, but I think that's what it was. You know, it's sort of like when his cover is blown because Adamar sees him at Cheapside, and you know he's like, "Aha, I know," you know, and Heath is willing to go to jail rather than run because his pride is sort of getting in the way. Like he's like, I shouldn't have to run," which is true. He shouldn't have to, but I think that's an element of his personality that I think Jocelyn was trying to crack through. Basically, it's like you're too prideful in moments when it's not warranted. Like at this point, if it's your life or the freaking jousting, choose your life. Don't choose jousting.
Because Adamar will kill you.
Yeah.
He looks like he's killed a lot of people.
Yeah, and also
he hides it in the river.
But I think it's hinted at that he's also like, even the reason why he's brought back is because he's committing all these war atrocities. Which is why he's brought back and why he ends up in London. Because he's called back because he's basically going above and beyond the call of duty, so to speak.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned that.
Oh.
Yeah, and the prince
Pillaging
basically has to, and he even admits, like, when he saddles up next to me, he goes, just committing the same sins, but in a different fashion.
Why would
But-
they let him joust then? That's unfortunate. That's a poor oversight by the Prince Edward there.
So 2001.
Maybe, I don't.
This movie came out in 2001.
Mhm.
Yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was I don't think it was the best year for movies, but it was, that released, so Jurassic Park 3 came out that summer, right?
Yeah, it did. And it was like
That was the
best
first
movie.
Fast and Furious movie came out that summer.
Was it really? Wow. So
First-
it was a great year for movies.
First Harry Potter came out that year.
Sounds like a
Oh,
great
Donnie
year. What do you-
Darko. came
First
out
Lord of the
that
Rings
year.
came out that year.
Mulholland
What do
Drive.
you mean this was a bad year
So-
for
Gosh.
movies?
Well,
Yeah.
those are three major like cultural touchstones, right? Harry Potter, Lord of the
AI.
Rings. AI was 2001.
Does anybody
Yeah, this
remember
is
that?
nuts.
So it was also
Fellowship.
Black Hawk Down and Hannibal was 2001, right?
Tenenbaums.
No, maybe 10 Bombs.
Royal Tenenbaums.
The Tenenbaums.
Royal Tenenbaums.
Serendipity.
Serendipity.
Zoolander.
The movie that
Oh my
romances
God.
gaslighting. Yeah.
Training Day. Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Joe Dirt.
Vanilla Sky. Well, God, everything just had a beautiful pre 9/11
Well, we now
sheen
know that
year.
Yeah.
that,
Like,
wrong, that 2001 had some really good.
I feel like I'm gonna go to 2002 and every movie's going to be horribly depressing.
King Kong ain't got nothing on that list.
What was horrible? What'd you say about horribly
I got
I
depressing?
feel like
Training Day
I'm gonna go to 2002 and every movie's gonna be like horribly depressing.
Like
No,
in nature,
no,
like the stories
2002.
are just depressing.
2002 was a good year. That's when you got well, you got Two Towers, obviously. You got Gangs of New York.
That's
Okay.
good.
Got
Gold member.
Yo,
Spider-Man. The first Spider-Man was
Okay.
2002.
the
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
A lot came
Still,
out of 2001.
The
though.
tone changed.
Yeah.
I'd say.
I'm into it. We had goofy, we had fun, we had adventure. Now we got serious.
I feel like Shannon Sossman's coolest movie was Rules of Attraction.
I
She's
didn't
like,
even know she
I didn't
was
see
in
that
it.
one. I saw
Well, this is
48
the
and
only movie I
49.
know her in.
oh,
With her
that's
and
the
Josh
That's
movie
a
Hartnett.
where
terrible movie.
It's really bad.
yeah, that's where like Josh Hartnett gets raped.
Yes.
At the
Yeah,
end.
and then she's like, "Why'd you cheat on me?" And it's
Yeah.
like, "What?"
Yeah.
and we just shrug off the fact that he was sexually assaulted
Yeah,
in his sleep.
I
Yeah.
remember
place
you
where
seen
he
that
says
as a
he's
kid, and I
from,
was like,
which is a real
"What?"
place.
Yeah, like what the hell just happened? Yeah.
Gilderland.
It's a real. Is it?
Josh Hart, yeah, he's cool.
The
He basically
Gelders.
walked away from it all.
Oh.
Yeah,
Because he
it's
was like, yeah, I don't
the
wanna-
Duchy of the Holy
I don't
Roman
want to be
Empire.
this character
It's
anymore.
right
Would
here.
he have known that?
Yo,
Like,
I don't think so. Because initially I thought they were just making it up.
I thought they were too.
What are we
Sorry.
talking about?
So in A Knight's Tale, his William's alter ego is Sir Ulrich von Lichtenstein, which Liechtenstein is a country. It's very teeny tiny.
It's a tax haven in Switzerland.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's teeny tiny. But he also says he's from a place. They're like, yeah, where you from? And they're like, Gelderland. And Gelderland is actually a place. It's the Gelders. It is a. It is part of the Holy Roman Empire, or it was, but it was actually a really place. We were just discussing. It is in present day Germany, right now. So we were just discussing if he would have possibly have known that, and I was like, I don't think he did, but then again, maybe. It's like he's like, how far away is far away where these people won't know anything about it.
Let's talk about Heath Ledger for a minute.
Let's talk about Heath Ledger.
Let's.
An appreciation for Heath Ledger's best performances. Go.
I love this movie.
Obviously, Dark Knight.
I was talking about this with Rebecca earlier, and I was young enough where the first thing I really remember Heath Ledger from was Dark Knight.
Yeah.
So
Where he played Tom Waits with makeup on.
Yes, and it's amazing.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
There's one like ancient interview with Tom Waits where he is just full on doing like Heath Ledger bits. It's insane. He's just sitting in the chair like this.
Yeah.
And he's just like, rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal the bottom of me.
The Brothers Grimm is a personal favorite.
Yep. With the great Monica Bellucci. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's very funny for me because like I sort of registered him as like, oh, he's like this like wild actor who like really throws himself into his roles, and then like just go back and see the stuff he got famous on.
Being
and
such a
it's like,
pretty boy.
oh,
I've seen,
he's
like,
like
the
yeah,
Patriots.
he's like this charming pretty boy, and
Actually,
Brothers
one of my
Grimm.
favorite
I never
performances.
actually watched Brokeback Mountain.
I've seen it. It's depressing.
I'm sure there wasn't enough going on for me to watch The Dark Knight. And then there's the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, which was actually a super cute movie.
Last movie before he died, right?
Yeah, they actually had to replace him with 2 actors.
Yeah.
To make it, and I still
Make
think
it
it
happen.
worked
Mhm.
in their favor because it's such a creative movie.
was that who was that? Was that Gilliam?
Mm-hmm.
I can't do.
That's
Did he do that
Gilliam.
movie too?
2 people that lost their touch with digital effects is Tim Burton and Terry Gilliam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
That's
find Gilliam so
Like they lost their mojo after
I just find him
digital
to be
effects.
spectacularly frustrating as a person, and I think that colors how I view his work.
I
Yeah.
just don't think Tim Burton
Unfortunately.
works well with digital in general. He's more fun when he's having fun, like, you know.
But his movies like
Building.
lost their soul.
Yeah.
Like once after
Are
Corpse
you coming
Bride-
out for Miss Peregrine's or Dumbo?
No, so I actually had a chance to actually sit down and watch. I'll watch anything Tim Burton puts out. 'Cause
Wendy's
I
gonna be
personally,
good.
I've admired the man for many years. I'm a collector also of things. I have his art book. They made like 1,000 of.
You have merch?
I'll always buy his merch. I have both of his autobiographies and everything. Or one biography, one autobiography. But I don't know. There's like a dark. He has an aesthetic that I personally enjoy, just aesthetically wise. I now know, like, you know, they're doing the Addams Family, like his version. It's a TV
Yeah.
show. It's his first ever take on like a television
Wednesday.
show.
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited to see where he plays with it.
I'm excited for it, but I'm a
Mhm.
little sad that he's been relegated to Netflix land.
I'm a little sad too because I feel like a lot of my like favorite people tend to be kind of going towards like people keep acquiring titles that I like
freedom on
beforehand.
that platform.
They kind of
Maybe.
do and they kind of don't. It's like
Mm.
Netflix has
I
the
don't
thing that they
know.
want, and
I just feel like he sort of became a
director for hire. He did it to himself.
Veered into self-parody
Yeah.
around like Willy Wonka. I feel like
Willy Wonka, I'm not gonna lie, like I do think he has a lot of stinkers. Like I'm not gonna lie, I thought Dark Shadows, like that remake of the old TV show, like he
Yeah.
did as a movie, I wasn't a personal fan of. He's weird in general, and he does weird things, and that's why I've always enjoyed him. Is he has fun with it, and I thought with Dumbo, a part of me in my head initially, I was like, oh, this is perfect. He loves circus motifs. He loves dark circus motifs. So, and then he's got Danny DeVito, and I was like, perfect. I was like, but then like the execution, I didn't think it was like the worst thing he's ever done, but I definitely was like, I'm not a big fan.
it's just like I don't know. You look at the
Yeah.
early stuff, and there's so much joy, there's so much color, and there's so much like gleeful
because he
insanity
got
on
to do what he
screen.
wanted to do, like when he,
But, like, even-
yeah.
It's
He
practical
was making
effects.
Batman. Like it wasn't like he was making like
Yeah.
scrappy little indie movies. He was a major blockbuster director.
No,
and, like,
yeah, completely. He,
I
also
think his
he-
run from the 80s through the 90s is like some of the best
my
stuff
God.
a blockbuster director has ever done.
And
Edward-
I'm hoping that because he's basing things off of things that he really loved, like as a child, like going through his biographies and autobiographies, he's a huge fan of like the
Barbers? Barbers?
No. He loves a lot of like old school television. Like when he grew up, it was all like, you know, he had black and white television shows, like he had the Batman series, the old Adam West ones. He loved watching stuff like that, and so he tries to incorporate it like all those inspirations into the things that he does. That's why I think the Addams Family is a good choice for him. As it is his first take on a television show, so I'm excited to see him do a TV show and not a movie, to see where it takes him next, because I do think that his last couple films were not, it didn't feel, they put too much, you're right, too much digital effects in it and not enough of his creativity, in the sense where he hand makes things. He's actually like, he has like artwork, when he did Nightmare Before
That's the
Christmas,
Tim Burton that we love, is the one that hand makes things.
And I love that. Like, Corpse Bride was like back at his old, like, oh, I created this, and then the old stop motion.
Yeah.
And he loved that Frankenweenie was more digital and not so much, but at the same time, it was like, that's a return to one of his old works, one of his first little mini films that he made. I thought that was great.
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney
Gorgeous.
Todd, I love it.
Yeah.
I actually had my friend watch it for the first time this weekend.
But that's the point, is like, when he's working with practical, he's Tim Burton.
Yeah.
When he does everything's green screen and digital, we lose Tim Burton. It doesn't feel the same. And I'm cautiously optimistic for Wednesday, because I think
he's
that
not doing
looks,
put that on the.
he is doing Wednesday.
I thought he was doing a different Addams Family show.
No, that's
was it
the one
Wednesday?
he's doing. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I put that on our.
I caught two different
watch calendar.
titles. I thought one was just like Addams Family.
Jenna
and one was
Ortega is pretty great, so I'm just like, all right. I'm glad
I love
to see her
seeing
in
who he
something.
casts too, because he's friends with like everybody. So he only casts his friends.
That's pretty cool.
And Luis Guzman is the dad.
A very
he's
accurate Gomez Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Luis Guzman. I smile so much whenever I see
Punch
that
Drunk
guy.
Love.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, but we're getting off topic.
Yeah, we're talking
We're
about
talking
Heath
about
Ledger
Heath Ledger.
performances.
So let me Google
I'm gonna
something.
say
Simone,
I
do you have
think
anything else?
it's a bad movie, but he's really
no,
good
no.
in The Patriot.
Okay.
Not a great movie. It's a Roland Emmerich film starring Mel Gibson about the Revolutionary War. I mean, it's just it goes wrong in so many ways. But Heath Ledger is one of the sons, and he's excellent.
I actually like The Patriot. I know that a lot of people had took issue with the depiction of the British. I don't know if he's a general or the villain. within
Malfoy, yeah.
Malfoy.
Lucius?
They took issue because they were saying that the actual man was not as barbaric or ruthless. Like, they took issue with the depiction of that particular character. But it is one of those films, let's be honest. It's going to sound so bad. Maybe I shouldn't say it. Never mind.
Say it.
Well, it's Braveheart in the Revolutionary Road.
Yeah, it's
Revolutionary War,
supposed
sorry.
to be like, it's very much about, this is going to be obvious, the it's like an American hero story.
Right.
So
yeah.
to me, it made sense that every British person, with a few exceptions in that
Are the
film,
bad guys.
is like twirling their mustache and cackling maniacally. Like, it's like that's expected,
It's
in that
overtly
film.
American.
It
Yeah.
is. But
Well, that seems to be a lot of like
Made by a
Revolutionary
German
War
director,
films,
so
too,
go figure.
A
It's
what?
so funny that Roland Emmerich just makes like real rah like pro America movies.
You can tell he's educated from that Nazi propaganda Olympics movie, and he just
Yeah.
like makes these giant very simple, uncomplicated propaganda films. It just applies that technique to everything.
yeah, I haven't seen too much that Heath Ledger has done. Like, obviously, 10 Things I Hate About You, Patriot, Knight's Tale. I saw Brokeback Mountain, which, I mean, I kind of figured that would be extremely depressing, and I was not disappointed. That
book
film
so
is
tiny, too.
extremely depressing. But I had a hard time understanding anything Heath Ledger said in that film. He mumbled his lines. Like, it's not like he had stuffed his mouth with cotton. Like, and I know it's supposed to be the character, like, but...
Yeah. That's
Might
kind of how
just
I
not
feel
be
like
good at
when
doing-
Chris Hemsworth tries to do any accent other than Australian.
Uh,
Like, I'm like, what the hell is he saying?
like
Yeah,
what, the Island
understand.
movie that we watched? What was it?
Oh, yeah, that one was terrible, too. That damn movie. Spiderhead or something.
Spiderhead.
saw that?
Spiderhead.
No, I didn't watch that.
Yeah,
You didn't miss anything.
Yeah,
waste your
don't.
time.
I
Yeah,
mean,
we ripped
you
that
should
one
read the
apart.
story it's based on,
Okay.
which we own. I've mentioned it. I can get you the book.
Yeah, I guess Heath Ledger actually didn't do that many movies because he just
I
didn't.
looked at his roster here, and there's actually like. Not
I had no
Yeah.
clue he was in I'm Not There. I really
Yeah,
need
he
to
was
see
good in
that
that.
movie.
That's an interesting experiment.
Monsters Ball he was in.
I like Todd Haynes. I really liked Velvet Goldmine, so I feel like I'd vibe with that one.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel? Because when the dark, he was in The Dark Knight. He played the
Yes,
Joker.
he played Joker.
When that film came out, there was I was in graduate school, and there was a girl. She was writing her graduate thesis on Wonder Woman, and she was very much a comic book person.
Yeah.
And I asked her, well, what did you think of Heath Ledger's take on the Joker? And she hated it, but she didn't explain why she hated it. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean,
She might have been a purist.
It's not
where
really
it's,
comic
like,
accurate,
more-
but it's a
Yeah.
killer performance.
Yeah, I
It's
loved
like-
it. I
But
also
that's the
loved
fun of
Jack
Batman.
Nicholson's.
Yeah.
I thought they portrayed it just in two
see,
different ways.
That's what I was curious about, because I know, like, I'm not a comics. I haven't read the comics. I know of the Joker, but I've never read any of the comics.
Well, even
but
in the comics, depending on the writer who redoes, like, because they did, like, every time, like, when they decide to rewrite a new alternate universe, because no Batman's the same anymore, it's like the universes are different. Like, you have the Arkham Asylum, which is my personal favorite, like, Batman comic. It's like the Joker in that one is more methodical and, you know, manipulative, but also inciting violence inside of a, like, you know, getting out of the asylum, but being able to bring together every single villain. He's not goofy in that one. I think that, like, you know, you have, like, Adam West's Joker. He's kind of goofy.
Cesar Romero. I love that guy.
He's very
He didn't
goofy.
shave his mustache for it. You can see it under the makeup. It rules.
Well, like, that's even, like, going into the new, like, The Batman that came out. It's like there's a new take on the Riddler. The Riddler, like, when Tim Burton had his hands on it, was very, like...
Tim Burton didn't do that one.
That's right.
Joel
sorry.
Schumacher.
Sorry. When they got their hands on that one, it's like Jim Carrey being goofy and crazy in a one-piece outfit with a red outrageous hair. It's like in the comics, he's a bit. Every villain is depicted differently depending on what
so I wasn't
the
sure
person's
why
going for.
she didn't like it, because I tried to get her to explain, but she didn't.
So
do
the
it.
biggest argument against, I mean, there's really not a lot of people who don't love
Yeah.
that performance. I mean, he's very obviously being Tom Waits, and he said that he was acting like Jack Lemmon.
I could go. If I squint, I can see
But
that.
it's still a lovely performance, but the argument is that he's not the Joker. The
Okay.
Joker, and the comics that it was very thematically based on this comic, The Long Halloween. A lot of, like, it's like the making of Two-Face and all that.
Okay.
A lot of liberties are taken because Christopher Nolan just does whatever he wants.
Yeah,
As
Christopher
he- and
that-
Nolan
I
said,
say that-
I want to do Heat with Batman.
I say that
And
not as a criticism,
Okay.
but he isn't the Joker. The Joker is menacing, but is like super,
So
like,
what about Joaquin Phoenix and his portrayal of
not the Joker. And actually, I think he's actually not the Joker. He's not the character. He's not the man who became the Joker,
Oh,
right? He's a
he
totally
isn't?
different person.
That's a different. It's like he is, but that's more of like someone's weird new, standalone, like because Batman in that one is like a child.
But still a wonderful
Yeah, still very
performance. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of bummed out when I'm hearing, like, DC is going to go in the direction of Marvel, and they're
Yeah.
I kind of liked what they were doing with these experiments and interesting.
Now, see, I hated the first Joker. But I'm kind of hyped for the sequel.
The musical?
Yeah, because how can you resist that pitch?
With
Lady
Brendan
Gaga's
It just
Gleeson.
seems
Brendan
so
Gleeson.
awkward.
gonna
Of
be a
like you
musical.
created this serious like psychological deep dive of like a man like just crashing and burning,
Yeah.
and then you go to like a musical with Lady Gaga,
And I thought the
and you're
first
like,
one was just like, why am I not watching Taxi Driver? So you know what? Give me something wild.
like where that was like a complete like 180 right there. You're like,
And the one scene I like is when Joker is in full like supervillain mode and he's on the show and he's like, "Well, Murray," and like doing goofy bits. So
I love when he faded into the other Jokers on the subway. I was like, this is excellent. I think that's who's the director? The guy
Todd
who did
Phillips.
Todd Phillips' big middle finger towards the way DC's going to go now, and he's like, no, this is not going to fit into any of your.
So, last Joker question.
Sure. Yes,
So-
Jared Leto is my favorite.
I was going to ask you, like, because there were people that also took issue with his portrayal of the. So, I guess my question is, and I don't want to spend. I don't know. Maybe that can't be
Jared
answered.
Leto Joker was just bad because Jared Leto's generally a pretty bad actor,
Yeah.
and he's
Okay, fine.
terrible
I
on
only
set
liked
to
Jared
everyone.
Leto
like,
when he was in like Blade Runner, but he had a very, like... I liked him in that one because he fit the look, in my opinion, of the world.
Because he played himself in that one.
Yeah!
On
Like,
the
the guy didn't
record.
even know COVID happened. He was stuck in a desert for months, and then he came out of, like, his little meditation. He was like, what's going on? And everyone was like, COVID happened. And they were like, he was like, what's COVID? And we were like, Jesus Christ, man. He was in the middle of a desert just meditating.
On the record, I think he was the best Joker. And I think Ben Affleck is the best Batman. They didn't get the movies to prove it.
All right, I can hear you on Batfleck, but I can't buy Jared Leto Joker.
I
Someday.
have actually never seen Suicide Squad. I've seen the ending to Suicide Squad because my boyfriend's dad likes to put movies on, and I'm just like, oh, okay. No intention.
And I love all the Jokers. But there's something special about Leto's Joker, especially in the Snyder Cut, when he basically did reshoots in his backyard, and he had them. Yeah, I just love Jared Leto.
So, okay, because it's going on almost
Sorry.
2:30. No. I just wanted, because I know last time Joe wanted to kill us because we really went over.
We really went over with the Mulholland Drive episode.
So,
You do know you can just edit the crap out of this, right?
Yeah, I think I might have to.
Like always.
We
You don't
want to make his life easier, but just going as much as possible. So going back to the film, like as it ends, William makes good on his promise to basically when he says that Count Aldemar, the next time you see me, it'll be on your back. And there's that epic scene where he's falling on his back, and William and all his friends says, "You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you've been found wanting."
I love that line.
So he wins the jousting tournament. He wins
I
Jocelyn.
was just confused why that couldn't happen in reality.
Yeah,
Why did it have to be his imagination as he fell?
agreed.
Yeah, why was it like an
Oh,
occurrence
yes.
at Owl Creek?
Yeah,
Oh, you're right.
agreed.
That
Yeah.
wasn't really, but he did still end up well.
Yeah, he lost.
He
but,
fell face
yeah.
forward, but
I was just like, huh?
but maybe
You
that,
know-
but maybe for him that would have been more horrifying,
Maybe.
probably.
I almost see it. I almost saw it as they did that shot. The stunt double fell the way he fell, and they were like, "We're not doing that one again." So we're
Yeah.
just
You know, that's probably good. That's probably good for the stunt double
Yeah.
and
gonna. They were
everyone else
probably just
involved.
like, "Let's just have him lay there, and then we'll
But
just."
that was
If
like,
I
considering the
ever-
way he fell, that was a really terrifying fall for that. I mean, for the stuntman, I'm sure whatever, but like when you really
Jesus.
analyze that fall, like my God.
From the horse, that's like
I
super
watched-
high. You go, what?
Yeah.
I watch too many Hong Kong movies where it's just like, oh yeah, that stunt dislocated their neck permanently.
Jackie Chan over here, like, yeah, I broke a couple ribs.
Oh,
whatever.
speaking of it, and I won't go too far from it, but Jackie Chan and I'm sorry, who was the actress in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon? The
Michelle
one.
Yeoh?
Yes.
Super Cop.
Yeah, she was talking about this one stunt that she did where Jackie Chan was driving the car. She fell on the windshield. He couldn't grab her on time, so she tumbled off the car, tumbled a few feet, and you see the behind the scenes. And Jackie's like, "Is she okay?" And goes, "Yeah, she's fine. Reshoot the scene."
Yeah.
You know, there was another scene where she was hanging from a bus, but something happened where you see her fly off the bushes. That was not intentional.
Yeah.
The driver hit something, and she like you see her hang, and then she
That
falls
guy got
back.
fired.
No, probably not.
Yeah,
But, yeah, that's
the
what
rules are
reminded-
just different.
They've tightened up since, but in the 80s it was real no man's
And
land. over
that
there.
was
You
her
could
on the
do
motorcycle,
anything.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
getting on the train.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was very much about doing her own stunts, but she was sharing this, you know. But yeah,
Can I bring it back to A Knight's Tale for a
Sure.
second? Watching the jousting, the many montage jousting scenes that there were. How the hell does anyone ever miss? Like,
With jousting?
yeah.
I mean, it really depends on your depth perception at that point, I would assume.
I guess once you get enough
I would
splinters
fail.
in your eye, then
Maybe, yeah.
Your eyes are the only things not, like, perfectly covered. They didn't have, like, goggles preventing them from...
I don't know. He got stabbed by a few blocks of wood, so
Yeah.
Like, those things shatter, and it's, like, everywhere. Splinters, like, if you have any vulnerable spot open, splinters everywhere. I can't imagine.
yeah,
the
I'm
amount
not
of
sure
splinters.
how you would.
I was like, as long as you know how to ride a horse, this sport seems pretty easy.
I guess maybe
But
if your
sometimes they
arm's
stab the
injured,
horse.
Yeah.
like at that point you can't really
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I watched a movie with that recently where the guy literally like was jousting and he like went down and like knocked the horse out, and I forget what movie that was.
Yeah.
I was watching it recently. Like a scene came on and he's like jousting. I'm like, oh, I love jousting scenes. They're always so much fun to watch. And so he's like jousting. He's like,
Oh,
like no,
that was
tilt
House of the Dragon.
down, and he was like, bam. Oh,
was House of the
that's what it was like.
Dragon,
He was like, bam, and I was like,
I
yeah.
love when he starts sliding on the rail and he's like, I've seen so many like memes of like putting the Tony Hawk grind counter on top of it.
Since just to stay on topic with Knight's Tale, did Harry Styles spit or not?
I don't think
Harry
so.
Styles?
I
don't think so.
I don't think so, but I choose to
Harry
believe
Styles?
it because
It
it'd be
looks
very
like he
funny.
did, right?
Yeah, right.
It does look like he did. I think he had to have just said something.
Have you not been following the "Don't Worry, Darling" drama?
Which I'm
Come
so-
on.
Oh, I have. I didn't realize.
hyped
He said,
for that
we're going to
movie.
go on track with A Knight's Tale. I
No.
didn't realize.
I was being
that-
funny.
I was like, how did Harry Styles come back into this?
I have no. I have.
Sorry.
I'm so hyped for that movie.
I can't wait
I'm
for the
very
book
excited,
of
but-
the production and
Yeah.
post-production and all the drama. Yeah, I'll read that.
Florence Pugh and Chris Pine just being done is so funny to me.
Oh yeah.
And it's even
That
funnier
does look
that
good.
Nick Kroll, of all people, is just a guy
New
who's
movie.
coming out of
What's the
this
movie's title
shining.
again?
Yeah.
Don't worry,
What's the movie
darling.
title again?
Don't,
Don't
worry,
worry,
darling. You haven't watched
It's
these
basically
previews?
like the modern day Stepford Wives, is what it looks like.
Oh.
But more.
But more. That's what I'm
Like-
saying. I'm like, you can take a rendition.
I
but
read
it looks like it.
one
It's
review
Olivia
saying it's
Wilde's
like the
first
Stepford
directed
Wives
movie.
meets the
Okay.
Matrix.
Yeah. So it's like
So,
perfect town.
I'm pretty
perfect
hyped
people,
for it.
but you
Yeah,
find
I'm
out they're
psyched.
not perfect
I look
people.
forward to it.
I'm
Okay.
excited, yeah.
There's dark
Okay, I'm
secrets.
sorry. That was a huge digression. I think
But
all I brought was chaos.
I feel like he must have just said something to Chris Pine. Like he must, as he was
that
sitting
made
down.
Chris Pine look in his lap and go,
Maybe he was saying, "Hey man, I really like those pants.
"No."
They were
Or
nice.
like,
They were nice pants. They were nice white pants."
yeah,
And
possibly.
maybe he was hawking a big old loot.
or he was doing that. Yeah.
Anyway, it was some awkward stuff.
It is awkward though, and everything else that's going on with that movie right now is just, it's just a train wreck. The
Can you
behind the
imagine
scenes
it's
stuff.
such a huge hit that they make like, "Don't worry again, darling."
Please, dear God, no.
And they all show up.
Yeah.
I hate forced sequels.
And maybe this is all some publicity stunt, but I doubt it. Right? Like
No.
they can't be.
As of 2021, apparently, A Knight's Tale is potentially getting a sequel.
A
Because they
Knight's-
said A
That's
Knight's
just
Tale
silly at
sequel
this
details
point.
revealed on movie's 20th anniversary.
A
which
Knight's
was-
Tales 2. Another
I don't
night.
know what it's called.
Tale.
That's so silly.
But apparently, they're like, Hagelin explained that Paul Walker was also up for Heath Ledger's role, but was
Oh, they did a
too
bad job.
American. And Daniel Craig screen tested for the villainous Count Adamar, the role that would have ultimately go to her fit so well.
Yeah.
Oh,
They made
God.
the right choice. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Good call.
So
Keith
thank
used to say
I'm
he
sorry.
loved the movie.
Let me know when I can sign off, just like so we can,
Sign
so
off.
that they can get the. No. All right, so thank you for watching with us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. And next pick will be
Jurassic Park 3. Yeah!
we're talking about dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs!
So we're sticking with the year 2001.
It's
We
like
can go
2000, it's just
anywhere.
coincidence at this
Yeah.
point.
No, 90s or 2000s. I wanted to do throwback. I mean, 2015 for me doesn't count as a throwback. Like, it's,
I
so,
feel old saying that.
so like 90s, early 2000s.
All right.
Yeah, so Jurassic Park 3, Fight Club.
I described it last episode as a movie you go over to your friend's house and watch on their PS2.
It's
Yeah.
so fun.
That's how it used to be.
So we're going to
Nicely
talk
said.
about dinosaurs.
Yeah, so next time you see us, we're going to be talking about mutated dinosaurs. It's going to be really good. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. Ben was back for this episode. We're all very excited. Woo! All right.
Thank you for
So
bringing me
bye.
back.
Yes. So bye,